Today is a very special day. Very special indeed. It is the long awaited, moderately anticipated Channel Point redeemed Norman Rockwell artist stream. So thanks to Phantom Pinecone, start off with, for redeeming this. And I'm excited to look at some of these. Up here, I've picked a few pictures to a few paintings that we're going to look at. A couple of them were chosen. One was chosen by Plumzink and one by Pinecone, and the rest by me. And we're going to look at them in, kind of go through them in 2 rounds. Firstly, composition, and then figure. Composition, there's a couple of things just from putting these together that I noticed right away, and I'm going to try to pay attention to. I'm going to look at, these are his tropes that are effective. Point of view, there's cropping. There is framing, just slightly different. And there are the line of sight, well, eyes. I don't know how to say that. Where the eyes are looking as a directional. These are composition. Vision. And then there's going to be figure. Gesture. And I'm going to say cartooning. So these are the things that I'm going to pay attention to today. And if anybody in chat wants to contribute anything that you notice, any insights that you have, please do in chat. It was nice last time. So this is the second of these study streams. We did Dr. Seuss After Dark previously. And it was nice when chat would get involved as well. So, with that out of the way. Yeah, some of these faces are totally ridiculous. But they're also, at the same time, they're realistic. It's very interesting. And that's something that I'll talk about. But first, I'm going to go through and do the composition stuff first. And then I'll flip back and do some drawing from these as well. So this one got these horizontals. And right away I noticed, like, he does this a lot. He crops his figures. So the focal point is this guy standing in the foreground here. But he cuts off the top of his head. Got, like, figure. His head cropped. And he's got this pose, which we'll talk about in a little bit. And I noticed that he has the shadow here, the baseball bat here. And one thing, I think that the composition and the figure, I think the best way to look at these is how are they in service of the narrative? So he's an illustrator, and all of these have a strong narrative, and I think that these choices are all intentionally meant to service that narrative. Yeah, the gestures say so much. Exactly how like this guy, he's just like, you wouldn't want to be any of these poor guys. But and then the contrast between the dugout and the crowd, right? Yeah, the guys in the dugout they're not having a good time. They're almost cringing. The guy in the back right, whose face is kind of covered here, he almost seems kind of contrite. Maybe he did a bad. He's feeling pretty bad about that. Interesting. You can see his hands, how he's gripping the glove, and you can just see his eyes. So he's got him covered. And like this guy here, like you get the body language, and his eyes are totally covered. All you see is a little bit of the mouth, and just like communicating so much with having the figures obstructed like that. It's very interesting. I think that having the figures cropped like they are in a lot of these, in this one in particular, I think it leads to attention. Like it gives it elicits an emotion. There's a kind of claustrophobia. Like these guys, they can't escape. They just have to deal with it. And the crowd up here, having the time of their lives. I'm gonna draw these faces in better later on, over on the side, but get blocked in here. And there's all these faces crammed in, and these faces you can all see pretty much all the eyes, right? That's interesting. And so talking about the POV, I think the POV for this one is, to me looking at this, I feel like I might be the pitcher, or I might be the guy who just hit last and is walking back to the dugout. And I'm not sure which. I guess it depends on who you want to associate with in this piece, because it's like it's a tale of two worlds, isn't it? Even the colors, from here down, it's all these grayed out colors, and up top there's a lot more bright. And so I guess gray, bright. POV, I don't know. What do you guys think? Are we the pitcher? Or are we the previous batter? I think this bat here and the shadow here is even more of a sort of isolating. It's an interesting thing about baseball, right? Like it's a team sport, but when you're up there, it's you alone. You're hitting. And when the game is not going so well, imagine that's probably pretty lonely. So this guy's kind of squished in there, all the way to the crowd pushing down on the head. Gives it. It's almost like it's like a reverse Death of Marat compositionally. Like the Death of Marat is he's down at the very bottom of the composition with all the weight of the whole thing pushing down. And this one, even though his head is at the very top, it's like we know that there's a whole stadium full of people pushing down. Very interesting. The expression on the main guy's face is difficult to pin down. He's clearly unhappy but resigned to his fate. Yeah, well, the fact that he's kind of got his head down and he's looking up, like he's next up to bat, I think. And yeah, he's resigned to his fate, but he doesn't want to go out there, does he? Not a good day at the ballpark. Let's see. So the framing talked about with him and with these guys' faces. What else is there? Oh, sorry, that was the cropping. The framing is going to come in a little bit more in some other ones, but he does this frame within a frame, and I think all of the pieces that I've chosen. So he's using the dugout as a sort of picture-in-picture for this one. And then the eyes, the focal point would be him. All the crowd is looking that way, cheering, or maybe the focal point is just past him. All these guys in the dugout are looking that way. So I'll come back to this one, like I said, in a little bit. Do a couple of these looking compositionally first. See. All right, let's do this one. So this one, Phantom Pinecone, you had this in your house growing up. I love that this one happens in a void. I think that the fact that it's in a void, it's all about the concentration of the moment, and I think that that contributes to it. There's no external distraction or anything. It's focusing simply on this one moment, and I think that's really effective. So it looks like this head is almost in the middle. His has such great like wrists. All of his the articulation he puts on his wrists is wonderful and very characteristic, I think, of his work. And okay, so she's got the knee up. Done it. I like how their heads are pushed against each other. I guess that's got to be a kid thing. Like if I'm hanging out with my friend Scouse Dave, or watching somebody play marbles as we do, I'm probably not gonna put my head right up next to his. The very artful constellation of marbles at the bottom left, but the color seems a bit drained out. Yeah. It's like I like the movement of them and how they kind of hold the composition. I love how this one. I'll get to that in a sec. But yeah, it's interesting. Do you think the one marble on the bottom, like the one that I guess is being aimed at, do you think that one is more saturated? Kind of hard to tell. I wonder if in person. Pinecone, can you run and check your original? Constellation of marbles is a good description. The one here. I'm very interested in how he uses these tangents. Like what a bold move and what an unusual move to put that marble just right touching the edge of the canvas. Very slightly, if at all, yeah. The natural artist thing to do, make the target brighter, but I don't think he did. Yeah, I don't know if he needs to, right? Because like, if we look at, like, he's so strong at using the direction of the gaze, and so you can see all of the eyes, right? They're all looking probably here, just beyond. And so we follow them and we go through where that marble is. And I like the diagonal, this movement, kind of creating a different world here. So I was trying to think about the point of view looking at this. And I wonder if I'm maybe a parent standing up looking down. Kind of. The viewer is interested in this, but the subjects are interested in this. And that's like the adult world, kids world kind of a dichotomy, I think. POV, maybe parent or adult. That's how I read it, at least. But like I said, if any of you have any other ideas, please do let me know. You think the exact thing, perhaps a standing child. Yeah, I was thinking maybe a standing child too, but I think if it was a standing child, the focus would be here. If these three are to be believed. I'm not going to talk too much about color, but I like that the shoe, the hair, and the hat get this kind of, I don't know, this interesting kind of movement here. I guess that follows an arc. And then we have the three faces making a triangle. Triangle there. What do we have? So this one also, I think this might be the only one we look at today where none of the figures are touching the edge of the composition. And so that's interesting as well. I wonder what and if. I assume everything he does is intentional. Looking at all of these, it seems like every single choice he makes is very intentional. And if you've seen him, like his preparatory works and stuff, he puts a lot of preparation into these. Does a ton of studies. And so I imagine that keeping a little bit of space around the figures must be some intention. And again, I wonder if that's like the that moment poised right before, I guess she's gonna flick the marble. I've never played marbles, so I'm not sure how to play. I guess it's like probably curling, except without the broom. You flip the marble into the marble and try to knock it into something. And it looks like, you know, the tension in the wrist and in the thumb. She's about to flick it, and there's that kind of that moment when you're playing sport or something where everything else drops away. Like I said, the void. The hands of the boy in the striped shirt are slightly redder than the other two. Yeah. Do you suppose that's we have this little red here and bringing it down? Interesting too, because his hair is black. And that's got to be a directional device, right? A little bit of the hair poking down. So maybe we come in like that. We come around down through the hands into her hand. And then maybe we go back around up through. Yeah, I can see a circular move. Try to knock marbles out of the circle. I see. Yeah, that's right. There's the pouch here, right? So it's definitely a competition. And I'm just noticing now, as you say that, his pouch is striped, and his shirt is also striped. That's got to indicate that's his pouch, right? It's right next to him, but also it's they're both the same kind of black and white stripes. So that's got to be on purpose, right? And maybe this kid leaning over, he look a little younger, maybe? Maybe he's just watching. Like, what's that in his pocket? Not a bag of marbles, is it? Hands are kind of counterbalancing. Yeah. And also, yeah, so this kid's hands are hidden. So is that a subtle indication that he's not playing? The hands of the kids that are playing, right? We see her hand. We see both of her hands, actually. We see a little bit behind her cheek. Then we see his two hands. Subconsciously bringing home the message this boy is about to lose some marbles. Oh, that's right. That's if you win, you keep some marbles. Is that it too? Yeah, that's right. That makes sense because her bag is stuffed. Her bag is bursting at the seams, and she has all these marbles on the floor. In addition, and yeah, now that I look even closer, he's got this pained look. on his brow. And she's pretty confident. She's got this little kind of... Yes. There's definitely the story. I don't know how it relates or if it does, but this kid, I like his little crown hat. It reminds me of Jughead, I think it is. I guess that must have been some kind of a popular hat back in the day. Or maybe he specifically chose a Jughead hat because he's the sidekick of this kid. Should say that the benefit of doing this is exactly what's happening right now. I've looked at this a little bit in preparation, tried to thought about it a little bit just for a few minutes, but I'm getting so much out of this just from sketching the composition and trying to talk about it. So there's a lot of value in this kind of a thing. If you look behind Jughead, the black-haired kid has some super unruly hair. Yeah, it looks kind of like he's been like running his hands through his hair going, oh no. That's right. He's been giving himself the tormented tussle. To draw some of these hands later. I thought I was just gonna draw the gestures and some of the faces, but hands are so I don't know, they're portraits in and of themselves, aren't they? All right, let's move on. Come back this one in a little bit. Move on. Next one is this. So we have a lot more of that cropping going on. Figure here. Not taking any shortcuts drawing this barber's hands twice. Girl's expression hard to pin down either. I'm so pretty because there's possibly both. Definitely. So there's that frame. The frame in the frame. So we have the edge of the canvas, but the real painting is being done in the mirror here. We have kind of the... Let's see. Striped wall. Flattening that out. And I like the arms of the barber chair here as a directional device. Bringing us into the composition. And then the dark here holding us in the composition. Interesting. The this red here and the green of the pillow are the only real saturated. The red of the hat too, I guess. So the red and the green are the saturated colors. This red pointing in at the figure. Almost an arrow. Green is framing her. Rockwell uses white to really good effect. Like in the previous one with the void. And here with the cape. I think in a couple of in the next one, or the Thanksgiving dinner one, does as well. I suppose that we are another customer sitting in the next chair over. And I think so. The fact that the hairdresser is cropped out the way she is, and the way, I guess this must be the mom. The way that the mom is also cropped And he does this again in the Thanksgiving dinner one. Puts you, like, really is immersive, I think, because in real life, you see in your peripheral vision, whatever, not everybody is neatly within your frame, and they tend to be. I guess if you're in a place and there's a lot of people, if you really paid attention to how the frame of your vision framed them, there'd be a lot of weird cropping, and I think that lends did verisimilitude, is that the word? Kind of feeling of truth, the scene. Hey Emma, welcome. Hope you had a good week. You all had a good week, actually. What mediums does this artist use? Rockwell, I think he used oils. These must be oils, right? Maybe they're acrylics. It's a good question, Emma. I hadn't it hadn't occurred to me to look into that. Child's hands look a little tense, like she's not sure how this. Yeah. There's this must be an early haircut, maybe first haircut, like at a salon or a barber shop. We have the directionality of the eyes going back and forth, right? She's looking at herself, and so the focal point, I think, is just this pinging back and forth. We have the mom looking down as well. There, like that. Mom is looking down into the shot. So the directionality that the eyes give to that. Like I said, the pointing of the jacket, the pointing in of the arms of the chair. Interesting. So I'm just noticing there's these two diagonals that are black. Then we have the diagonal of the comb that's black, and then again here. And then we have this black shape, creating another frame around her. Then we have the frame of the mirror of this chest of drawers or whatever, this little thing here. Hey. It could be both. How do you know? It could be Nanny or Granny, yeah. Given the time this was painted, I don't know. It could be the Mary Poppins. Rockwell made watercolor paintings. Rockwell did most of his magazine commissions in oil, so this one must be oil. Did in fact submit several watercolor paintings. Watercolors create sketches and quick studies for his commercial illustrations. Yeah, so this one must be oil then. Thank you, Emma. It could be just another customer in the salon who's interested in coming around to see what's going on. Maybe it's a neighbor, somebody they know. I think the hardest thing in the world to draw must be hands, and then the same hands in the mirror from other side. Probably a helicopter mom. And how hard must that be? The only way, you would have to get somebody to hold their hands in front of the mirror and do a sketch of it, right? The mirror hands are a real tour de force of skill. You think he's just showing off at this point? Oh yeah, so I didn't write it here, but I should have. All of these things are in the service of the narrative. So what I'm getting so far is, if it doesn't serve the narrative, it's not important. Not including it. Except for his signature, of course. Although that might serve the narrative as well. In fact, let's look just quickly. Where is his signature and how does it work compositionally? Okay. It's down here. That in pen. It's an important thing to think about. Yeah, I think he's using it as a compositional element in this piece. Definitely. One, it's up here. Maybe not as important. I think in the first one, if the signature wasn't there, it might be a little bit weird. In this one, not really necessary, but it doesn't distract. Like, I didn't really notice it when we were looking at it before. In this one, it's in the bottom middle here, which I guess is, yeah, I say that's compositional. It reinforces that frame and line of the chair kind of tangents with it. Okay, let's move on to this one. So this is a really interesting composition. Obviously the focal point is up here. Have figure bartender. This poor guy over here in the corner, sipping his drink. Everyone, including the dog, is focusing intensely on the interaction between the ponytail girl and the soda jerk. Yeah. Oh yeah, soda jerk. That's what he's called. Yeah, I love the dog in this one. And not only the dog, but also us. Because I look at this and I think in the bottom here, there are these cups that have been, that are, you know, mostly finished. And so I think we're definitely sitting next to the dog, right? We're looking down on the tops of these cups. So we're basically this guy looking in on this, right? Which is really, really interesting way to frame it. Like, his stuff is, I'm now discovering, it's so immersive and very well crafted to make it that way. Dog here. Figure. Figure. Here. These little faces scrunched together. Again, we have a frame inside the frame. So we have the edge of the canvas, but then the real frame, like this window in the back, framing the actual focal point. Yeah. Jukebox. Signature is here. It looks like his signature almost in perspective with the floor, but not exactly. Yeah, maybe that diatoms, because you're a little bit higher up the eye level. The world outside the window is like a whole other world with ivy and trees. Yeah. Dude, yeah, we have... And then we have just this outside repeating pattern. I like the body language on this guy here. Now, so his eyes are looking that way. The dog's eyes looking that way. And Then we have this triangle here. Figure. So he's cropped, not important. And then they're all framed. Then we're cropped out. I think everyone's just looking at Soda Jerk's hat, trying to figure out how it hasn't already fallen off his head. He must use bobby pins. Looks like some sort of admiration study. It was hard to figure out. Hard to figure. He's not exactly Cary Grant. Maybe just by virtue of being a Soda Jerk, he has certain status. Yeah, I'm thinking that too. I wonder at this time where the Soda Jerk is in society, and I guess these must be high school or college age, and I mean his job is serving drinks and chit-chatting. So he must be somewhat charismatic, right? And their faces are really close. Pretty high in teen society, yeah. Yeah, he always has someone to take to the sock hop. So POV is customer. And we got one more. Is this has to be his most famous one, right? And this one was suggested by Plums Inc. And so thank you to Plums Inc. and Pinecone for the suggestions. Get this figure here. It's not really a figure. Guy's head. Triangle. Base here. Base here. Base here. Here. I like how he does stacking. He did it in that baseball one, and he did it in the Soda Jerk one. Kind of stacking to indicate perspective. Base here. Here. Have the dead animal. And suppose the matriarch and the patriarch. Their Sunday finest. Good. Up a little more. Oh, I never noticed his hand here before. I wonder the meaning behind his hand on the table there. Could have just left that out. So, based on everything we've looked at, I imagine his hand here has to signify something. Signify that, like, this is his stuff, this is his table, family. Face of the guy seated left furthest towards the top is super smart. Yeah, he is. This guy here. Yeah. I like this guy down here in the bottom right. Guy looking back at us like we're part. Yeah, exactly. So this guy here is our in. He's not looking at us like we don't belong. He's looking at us like we're part of the group. And so our POV would be, I guess we're just about to take our seat, right? Because we're standing up like the two figures in the back. Our eye levels is where theirs are. So about to sit. We must be important because we're at the other head of the table. The foot of the table. And so the eyes are moving us all over the composition. Dark shape here. Guy that way. Dark hair. Here. 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 Standing old man, I think his hand is as a gesture of assistance. He's helping Granny, making sure she gets the platter on the table. Okay. Interesting. I can see that. Oh yeah, so his suit. Got this black shape here. Framing the bird. Again, we have the frame in the frame. The window here. I'll wait for this to dry before I can draw on top of it. And so we have the black, dark black shape here, backlit by this white, this bright white. So that's the high contrast. I like how the fruit here, everything on the table is pretty blown out and overexposed, except this this bowl of fruit, which is good compositional piece, keeping us in table. I guess we have like a little triangle pointing to the jello, and we have these leeks, whatever, pointing up. There's a little journey across the table we're taking as well. Of course, all these ellipses. Every person is looking at someone else. Yeah. This guy's looking at us. Here, she's looking across. Over there, he's looking up. She's looking down at her work. So is he. Looking down. Down. He's looking, looks like a cross at this guy. Maybe her. She's looking at her. She's looking back at her. The guys you face can't see his hands. Oh, interesting. Yeah, so you can't see his face, but you can see his hands. So his portrait is also in there. Smarmy Guy's looking at us too. I'm not sure if Smarmy Guy's looking at us or if he's looking here. Could be. And and the little kid is looking. She's looking at this one. This guy here. Yeah, he might be looking at us. But he's pretty pleased. Nobody's hangry in this picture. And his signature is very subtle. It's down here. I don't think that's not like some of those other ones. I think the signature, the baseball one, probably the most compositionally important. I don't think Smart Guy is looking at Curly-Gar. I think he's looking at us. Maybe he is. Yeah, he's looking kind of up, I guess. Go back here. I'm gonna do some gestures and hands and faces. Love the work you're doing with Ink and Norman. Thank you. Yeah, this was a channel points redemption. So if you build up enough channel points, you can we'll do an artist study. You get to pick the artist. This is the second artist study. The first one I did was Dr. Seuss After Dark. And both both Dr. Seuss and Norman Rockwell are not artists that I would normally think to study. And I'm really glad that I have / am. Because the fact that I wouldn't think to is reason enough to do it. And I'm learning all kinds of stuff that I would not have. I'm looking for a face to draw. I think this one is more about the faces, and I'm noticing just to the right of our main character, there's this face, and you can just see the face in the negative space here, and it looks like he's got his hand on his forehead, like he's pulling up his forehead. And it gets lost in there. I like this guy in the dugout figure here. Do his whole, I like his gesture too. That hand really feels pressed up against his face. This guy's almost, these two next to each other, they almost have a little smirk, I feel. Like when this situation is so bad, you got no choice but to kind of laugh. The rightmost eye has a very arched eyebrow, and there are radiating wrinkles behind it. Yeah, that's right. I don't think I left enough room for that here. He's kind of intrigued in a way about what's going on. The way that the fabric is kind of pushed up a little bit. I think, if I recall correctly, he worked from a lot of reference. I think in that self-portrait world where, yeah, this guy has seen this guy is a bit older than the guy to his left, or to our left, to his right. And I feel like he's seen games like this before. Maybe he's seen seasons like this before. His triple self-portrait here, and there's reference kind of taped up. Not so much. I do think he used a lot of reference, but can't really tell from these pictures. I think the most upset of all of these figures might be this guy on the far right. He looks like he's about to cry the way he's gripping the glove. Do this figure. Straight on, but his shoulders are forward. Hunch. This kind of hunch is really hard to achieve. Looks like his hat is even kind of askew, isn't it? Yeah, I think he used I think he probably used mostly I imagine he did sketches of models and then did his paintings from the sketches. And Emma pasted some information earlier saying he did a lot of his studies in watercolor as well. I wonder if he did drawings and watercolors from live models and went back that he was putting his paintings together. What did he do, like one of these a week or something? He was doing it's a Saturday evening post, so I suppose it's once a week, right? I'm gonna try this This guy in the red striped shirt. This is got to be a tough one to draw, but let's do it. Didn't he use his family, friends, and neighbors for people reference? That would make sense. I believe that. I wonder if you look at his body of work, if you see any recurring figures. It's very interesting how his faces are... They're so realistic, but they're absolute cartoons at the same time. How do you exaggerate that much and still make it seem practically photorealistic? Really, this overlapping. That's going to be something to take from this. For his hands. It's one of those things that gets lost. Like, you learn it and then you either use it or you don't, but you must remember, like, this part of the hand overlaps that part of the hand. It's so simple, but I think it's probably the cause of a lot of hands not looking like hands. Drawing a tongue sticking out of a mouth is really hard to do also. Oh, and then there's a hand on his shoulder, which I feel like heightens it. He's got he's in cahoots. He has a supporter of this mean, ridiculous face. But he thinks it's pretty funny. Egging him on. I want to draw that hand. That hand with a marble. I think with this hand, angle of the wrist, the bulging of the hypothenar eminence, or thenar eminence, this bit here, the bulge that's going on here, really feel the fingers kind of digging in. Those angles of the fingers, a little bit of red on the knuckle. And the fact that this finger we're looking at mostly in profile, but this one is more of a 3/4 view, these back ones. It's like the thumb in the marble pushing pointer finger back a little bit. When doing hands, right, it's so hard to remember that, like, the fingers, they kind of radiate. They're not just like this, like flat, straight across. That is such a hard mistake, or a hard habit to break out of. I don't know, what do you guys think? What's more difficult, hands or faces? Those gotta be the two... Those have to be the two hardest things to draw. Harder than bicycles. I think it has to be hands. I really need to study a little hand anatomy. Faces you can kind of do good enough, though that's not good. Hands, if you screwed up, it looks like a gnarled root. Yeah, there's not as much forgiveness. Yeah, that's right. I think that's pretty accurate. I wonder if that's why AI has the hardest time with hands. But yeah, we forgive if the face has characteristic or character. We can forgive it, and it's easier to put character in a face than in a hand. If a hand has character and it's wonky, it still works, but giving it that character is hard. Back in Dallas, there was a painting of a piano player on the wall. I guess mom or dad got it, and the hands were just a bit off, and they totally looked like they were from aliens or tree roots. Well, maybe the piano player was part tree. There's an overlap here. Overlap here. Got the ads pushed out by the marble. Subtle. Sometimes it doesn't even need to be the forms that are off. The shading being off can throw it into tree root territory. There's just like the barest hint of like some red. Knuckle mostly. A little bit here. Here. That tousled hair was a good observation. Okay, designing each figure, thinking about not just what's happening in this moment, but what were they doing before this? Does that affect how they look? It's pretty tough drawing kids with using, like, still having the wrinkles on their face and stuff. The general idea is if you're drawing kids, use as few lines on the face as you possibly can. And he's got all this going on. Still pretty clear. I wonder if the two other kids next to him, they've got a bit less. Maybe comparative. Like, he looks older than the boy whose head is touching his. Almost see like a vein in the forehead starting to bulge. Yeah, Jughead's got he's doesn't have he's got nothing to lose. It's the best place to be. The casual observer. Pinecone, I gotta tell you, I'm glad that that you chose this one. I had never really spent much time with this painting, and the longer I look at it, the more I really like it. I think I went into this with the baseball one maybe being my favorite, but I think this one might be. Jughead's eye to our right is a little strange. Yeah, his eyes are maybe a little far. Or maybe it's not wrapping quite so much. Maybe it should be pushed back a little. Another great thing about doing artist studies is while you're learning what a titan the person that you're studying is, you'll find little things that make them human. Maybe that's one of them. There's not much in Rockwell. Looks quite red. Yeah. I wonder if that's supposed to be compositional, to draw you from the hat down to the hair. I don't know. You're of half a mind to get a print of it. You should. And now that you mention it, Pinecone, I'm of half a mind to get a print of it as well. I zoom into... Well, I've got it zoomed in on my reference here. But, what's this one called, Pinecone? I wonder if it's maybe supposed to be reflected light. And off, there's a little bit here. Because you're talking about this This shape, right? Called Marble Champion. All right. Wonder. Almost like he's a black guy or something. Yeah, something. There's something wonky about that. I would have never noticed it if not for this. It's a fun one, yeah, and I get to look at artists I wouldn't normally be doing studies of. Like I said, this is the second one we've done. The first one was Dr. Seuss, and it was specifically his After Dark series of paintings, and that was very informative. I learned quite a lot. I learned some things from there that I'm still consciously incorporating into my own work, and I feel like there's going to be a lot that lingers from this as well. It looks like he's nursing a swollen eye. Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. Yeah, just said maybe it's a black eye or something. I wonder what the backstory is. So basically, all of Rockwell's pieces, it seems, everything he puts in is about the narrative. We were talking earlier about how, like, this kid who's clearly losing, his marble bag is empty, and you can kind of know it's his marble bag because it has the same stripe pattern as his shirt. Is an interesting little subtle thing I wouldn't have noticed if not for this deep dive. Yeah, narrative, exactly. Yeah, every piece we're looking at, it's so rich with story. I think I want to draw this this girl's face here too, this Marble Champion. I like this expression she's got. Don't mess with this kid. This is the marble version of the pinball wizard. I think the mouth is the best part of this face. Confident kid. That overlapping form. Get that cheek. Find that eye. It's this little shadow there. Like that part. It sells it. Got the nose poking out, but the nose is almost at a tangent. How he manages to put in all of these wrinkles and still keep them looking like kids. That's got to be something to study more. Move on to here. It's this hand that I was interested in. The face too. The hand of the barber. Her hand. Oh man. All right. Stay with me now. I have a wild theory. The hand of the barber on the left side of the composition. Scissors. Her hand is scissors. Look at those fingers. Oh man. That's my new conspiracy theory. Yeah, that hand is definitely scissors. That's how those barbers are so good at cutting hair. You can totally feel the tension in her hands. Yeah. The other hand too in the mirror. Yeah, that's right. Yeah, they're both. They're both scissors. Ah. There's no way that that's accidental. I guess with a lot of artists it could be accidental. If it was me, it would be accidental. But I feel like not having done 2 hours now of studying Rockwell, I feel like I'm expert enough to say. No way. Upward Bow, thank you for the follow. Unconscious, perhaps. Yeah, I don't know. I feel like everything he does is so well considered. And there is, you know, history of artists using metaphor to construct their forms. Sometimes things are informed by many years of doing art so that they don't consciously think about it, but this may well be conscious. And maybe the wrong word is, maybe a better word is intentional. Even if it's sort of subconscious. That finger is almost totally straight line. Subtlest little hint of the knuckles. Some long fingers, they really are. Mannerist. It's interesting too how if you're doing a portrait of a barber or of a hairdresser, doing a portrait of their hands is I mean, that's it, right? If it's a portrait of them in their professional capacity, that's all you really need. They look deft. They're not covered in cuts, which is always a good sign. Even unnaturally long, that's right. The index finger seems to jut out abruptly at a weird angle. Because they're not hands. Now this facial expression, I have always struggled with. Scrunched up. Wide. Well, that is pretty good. I'm getting pretty. Doing these artist studies is tiring work, and I think I made some good progress today. Learned quite a lot. I love this one. I don't think I'll do any more drawings of these though. I think I've gotten out what I want to get out. So, that was a good time. Thanks again to Pinecone, Redemption, and thanks Plums for all your contributions. Always good to have some back and forth in this kind of a study. That was cool. Happened. Oh, great! Awesome, Pinecone. I'm glad that you. I'm glad you enjoyed it. I enjoyed it very much. Like I said, I would have not done such a deep dive on Rockwell otherwise. So I appreciate the selection. I've definitely learned a lot today. So save up your channel points, everybody, and you get to pick an artist, and we'll do some learning.